Hello, my name is Anoa Changa.
The Way with Anoa. The Way with Anoa.
I'm back. Yay. Bonus Anoa. Ooh. So I fibbed earlier. That wasn't my last stream of the year. This one is. Okay. Anyway, so last night, if any of you again follow us all on Twitter and saw some stuff going down, shout out to everybody who hopped in and then had our back. So I had a little tangle, with the Daou clan. Shout out to Michael Graham, who was like, how the hell did you get into it with the entire Daou family last night? And their trolling minions. They're minions. I mean, like many of us, you see something on Twitter and you don't agree with it. Either you respond in the mentions or you quote it and put your own little caption to it. So that is what I did. There were some posts, he has all these dramatic, super uber, Peter Daou, Blue Nation Review. I think they're now called Share Blue. We talk all this stuff about fake news that everyone's so worried about. That was definitely one of the worst sites with the worst information. That and Daily Newsman, right? Which should just be called, trash. But anyway, so it was a positioning about Democratic men speaking for Democratic women and erasing Hillary, and they're disappointing us and leaving us behind, paraphrasing loosely, right? And my response was, I'm tired of, as a Black woman, I'm tired of entitled white Democrat, privileged Democrats, as if they speak for all of us. That was because my assumption, by the way, and we could talk about whether that's another conversation that I'm really excited to possibly have with Wendy News and Karen Opal and Dr. Amina and the rest of my girl squad, to talk more about the construction of whiteness and how people live in our society and appear to be white, whether they really identify as white or not is a whole nother conversation. But it was this really interesting conversation we had internally that we're definitely going to have either in a written piece or a follow-up video as well. But so, because he exists with this white Democratic elite liberal presence, right, throughout social media, he speaks with such authority as if his way and view of Hillary Clinton and the world is the only thing that is absolutely right. I don't have to agree with you, right? We don't have to agree. I can respect the fact that you exist, but if you speak with such authority and you're speaking about a group that I have been considered a part of, I'm going to push back and challenge you because I do not agree with you. Because you're speaking for me, you're speaking for a group you're not even a part of. You're speaking for women. And it's one thing to say, because he tried to say in some of the mentions that in some of the responses to some other folks in the mentions, well, I've spoken to some women and they've said this. Okay, that's cool then. Then speak for people. If you feel like you're advocating for people, then specifically, then do that. Don't do this broad brush stroke that we saw all across the primary, that Hillary is our Joan of Arc and she's coming to save us, and it dude, he had another tweet she's gonna rise up and be that beacon of hope we need to lead Trump. Where's she been at? Where's she been? Everybody got the jokes about her hiding in the woods. I said it earlier. I said, what is this, the forest, moon, and indoor? She going to come out and lead us to go, take out the new Death Star? I mean, what's going on? But what happened? So that was one. I had responded a few times in the mentions. Now, I mean, it wasn't necessarily abusive or anything, in my opinion, and maybe he took it differently. I don't know. And if he did, my bad, dude. But I quoted him directly twice. Okay. And then I responded in his mentions. And then, because of many interactions I've had with people who support Hillary Clinton, people who support Donald Trump, people who support Jill Stein, people who support, you guys may have heard me say it several times now in the last 4 weeks, everybody's problematic. I had if you follow me on Facebook or for Facebook friends, you might have seen a thread I had about 2 weeks ago about an exchange with someone who is supposedly a face of quote unquote our progressive movement, a Bernie person who showed really bad judgment. And Peter Daou thinks I was attacking him. He doesn't know me very well because I can go in with full on claws like, yeah, mama bear, what? Because I've done that, right? To people before. Like the mean girl in me can come out. It just happens. Uptown. So what happens is though, last night, like these two, he's like, well, because he blocks me, right? And I was like, oops, well, I guess I got my block. And so that's been a running thing. Like he's another person who blocks people of color, women of color in particular, who challenge his narrative and view of the world instead of actually engaging or it's again, you're creating, and this whole big thing about fake news is so freaking ridiculous when you have people like him who exist because they're creating news, they're influencers on such a high level in our society right now, and they're creating fiction and passing it off as reality because that's what they want reality to be personally. You know, that's what they want it to be. So they want it to be that way for everybody. I've actually, from some of your suggestions, I've actually been watching Black Mirror, and really the way they engage and the level they're trying to convince people that their narrative and way of thinking is the truth reminds me of a couple of the Black Mirror episodes I just watched today, that you have the media shoving or particular entities, right? Because it's not just this is a media wing. This is a media wing that attached itself to a political campaign, which according to our president and everyone else is an arm of the government because Russia, right? So we have an arm of the government then, because if we could do logic leaps that way, we could do logic leaps this way, trying to force particular thoughts into our heads on a regular basis about this notion of democracy, about Democratic men and Hillary Clinton, and what that means to all of us as women. Because here is the thing, the other tweet that I had, which he responds to the one I have about being a Black woman, I'm tired. And then he's like, well, you don't know what I've been through in my family. And he CC's his wife, who's a brown woman. I'm not sure what her background is. She's a woman of color. She's brown. So I'm challenging you for what you personally are saying. I'm not talking to her. I'm not talking to your kids. I'm not talking to anybody else in your family, your mom. I'm not talking to your auntie. I'm not talking to anybody else. I'm talking to you, sir. And you bring in your wife. So you cannot accept and direct and address people directly that you have to bring in a woman of color to shield you from criticism and critique. This is highly problematic as from those people who are supposed to be saving us and leading the revolution. They're leading the rebellion going forward. They're going to help us deconstruct systematic issues of racism and oppression by engaging in systematic racism and oppression. Like, how do you use a Black woman, a brown woman, a woman of color as a shield against criticism from another woman of color, from another Black woman? Like that is just so highly problematic on so many different damn levels. And let's be honest. And so in her defense, because she's being a good wife and she comes in to take care of her husband, she sees tweets in my timeline, again, not directed at him, not even freaking about him. They so vain. They think everything I tweeted last night was about them. I have all this experience in my 35 years of dealing with problematic as liberal white people and their affectionate inner circles, regardless of whether they're actually white or not, that I'm tired. I lost my damn limit last night because this was ridiculous. So that's his little bitch baby response, because I don't know what he's been through. And again, my specific issue was you don't have the market. You don't have the corner on the market of struggle. We all struggle. Had a really brilliant conversation with my mother when I was sick all weekend too, right? So I had plenty of energy. I had plenty of energy. I've been sleeping. I've been sick. I've been watching shows. It's been ridiculous. We had a car accident. I had a car accident 2 weeks ago. Asthma exacerbation, then got sick again. Ridiculous past few weeks, right? So I'm hyped up. I got energy. So I'm going to take this challenge on. But the problem, though, is my mom and I were talking about privilege and then how all of us, she's like, basically, if you have a place to live, you're eating food, you have a degree of privilege in relation to other people. It's relational, right? This concept of privilege. But the problem we have with these people, particularly these elites that align themselves so severely with the Clinton campaign, with the Clinton machine, that they can't come up for air from anything else right now beyond their false outrage and crybaby antics. The problem with them, though, is they live in a bubble where their struggle is absolutely fucking out of touch with the rest of society and the world around us. Because I know several people have looked at it before, and I don't know if he did this in the last month, but there was like, okay, we've seen no tweets about like no Dapple. We've seen no tweets about Flint. We've seen no tweets about this, but you're tweeting about Hillary Clinton and how brave she is and all stuff. Like it's so laser focused. And if for someone to have gone through so much supposedly in their life, for someone who understands so much about what people need, want, and have going on at various levels as he claims, you would think there'd be something more going on than the drivel. I have to share this other picture because like they have like in Africa, they call her sister. Like, what the hell kind of shit are you people putting out here? But you gonna get mad because somebody pushes back. You put yourself out there as a public person. I mean, that's what I've been doing over the past year, working with Progressive Army and Ben and the stuff that I've done with other groups, etc. When you put yourself out there, you get pushed back, and that's fine. And there are even some people who kind of like intervened or whatever, whether they followed me or not, who like started calling his wife names. And I don't do that, right? If I have to get dirty with you, I absolutely will. But we can do this head up, no problem. But so the wife comes in and she starts retweeting my tweets and like, well, you're talking about Bernie Sanders and you're a hypocrite and this, that, and the other. I'm like, dude, sis, like, first off, this is so cute. Your husband who blocks me can't even fight his own damn battle, but he gonna come get you to come handle this. This is pathetic. But you're also retweeting tweets of mine that have nothing to do with this. I have very specific tweets. Go address those, which she never did. He never really actually addressed anything, but did that false outrage. Oh, boo-hoo, you don't know anything about me. You're picking on me. Dude, you a privileged white man that's running a media company. You have a platform, but you erase voices, experiences, and people constantly. And that is what we saw happening throughout the primary. That is how they lost in the general. And that is what's leading us forward that is part of what's leading us forward into the next 4 years under the front, you know who. And it's not going to change any better because people like this cannot be allowed to just exist in our midst without any type of repercussions. Like we absolutely have to call folks out. And so while I do not like this type of nonsense on Twitter, I had to go there. And I love Ben. Shout out to Benjamin Dixon because again, I've been sick. I'm in and out. All of a sudden I get started. All my PA brothers, all my PA fam, everybody's like, Anoa, do you see what's happening on Twitter right now? I'm like, what? Well, I don't know. Like he blocked me 2 hours ago. What's going on now? That's when he unblocks me to send in his wife. Like, who does that? Like, I'm a nobody though. So the response from the Hillary supporters are fascinating because we've also heard this whole narrative. Bernie supporters are awful. Bernie supporters are this, they're racist, they're blah, blah, blah. So I raise an issue as a Black woman. And what happens? A bunch of white Hillary supporters in his timeline, in his mentions, in her mentions, come at me. I'm really a white antagonist. X, Y, and Z. I'm elitist because I have Esquire in my handle. You don't know shit about me. I grinded real hard in law school with 2 fucking babies to come out with that ESQ behind my name, which in America, for them Canadians that like to tell us what's not going on anymore, because in America, we do things differently here. Right? Mounties and all that other shit you guys got going on up there. And shout out, like, absolutely, I absolutely love all my Canadian friends. But I have people who come at me who are not from here, who do not live here, who don't even understand how the hell our system works here, trying to tell me about what I'm doing. You don't know me. If I was a white man, you wouldn't be challenging me about the fact that I have Esquire on my damn Twitter. It's a fucking Twitter profile. And you worried about me having the word Esquire on there? Like, that's my actual distinction to indicate that I'm a lawyer, you idiot. Oh, well, that person's a classist because they have some outdated mode of aristocracy. What the hell are you talking about? I'm Black in America. I would not have been a part of the aristocracy. Like, please calm the fuck down with that shit. Like, it's just insufferable what happened last night. And it was just like constantly, but there were so many great people who came to point out, like, okay, like, you're flipping out, dude, because she's not even talking about you. Well, you called me a white supremacist. No, I had 3 tweets in a thread because, Twitter is short. There's 140 word character limit. So 3 tweets. She took one tweet, and that's what everybody went with. I was like, so you all didn't read the full 3 tweets that I had, because then the very next one after the one she was, it talked about how, you know, yes, use your platform and use your voice to talk about the experience of others, but don't erase people in the process. That was the whole point. Because otherwise, if you're using people's experiences to put forth your own position, you are engaging in an act of white supremacy. That is my personal opinion. Now, if that fits you, if you're so vain and you think what I'm writing is about you, then okay. Well, if the shoe fits, then wear it. But if it doesn't matter, if it doesn't relate to you, then why are you tripping? Because there really must be some internal deep issues with him, like that this is happening. So why is this even worthy of me talking? Because I'm really pissed about it. I'm pissed about it because over the last, I mean, this happens to Black women. This happens to women of color. This happens to poor women. This happens to working class people, you know, of all races. This happens to all of us. When elites think that they have the market, the corner on what is right, on what is needed to be done, on struggle, on strain, or whatever, you know, like, even remember back to the primary, trying to figure out, listening to Hillary Clinton trying to describe a moment of privilege in her life, right? And she talks about when she would go and sit with when she babysat for the migrant workers. Like, their whole crew reeks. They just reek. They exude it. And they don't speak for the rest of us. And it is okay for us to challenge them. And then they get their backs all up and start having these little hissy fits, whether they're pretending they have seizures from gifs on Twitter, or they're which you know, Daou was not the only one to tag in his wife to come police people on Twitter. Like, this is ridiculousness. No, this is not an invitation to go harass them. This is me on my medium, on my platform, giving my space about what happened to me last night. Because not that I don't think that his response, whether he blocked me or challenged me or whatever, but that's a two-way mano-a-mano type of thing. There is no reason in hell you got to go tagging in other people to come talk to me. Because what Ben did, Ben jumped in because he was like, nah, my sis is getting double teamed. All these other folks is hitting her. No, that's not going down. And so then what happens? This idiot, are you attacking my wife? White man who starts off attacking Black woman, who tags in his woman of color, his wife, to also attack said Black woman, gets upset when when her Black friend comes in to have her back. Like you see how they create this victim cycle. So how do we work around them? How do we push through this? We have to find a way to continue to push through, break through false narratives. And I talked earlier with Bob. We have to build the community that is necessary to actually get the work done, because these people are a distraction. And that is what I learned from my experience last night. This is a distraction. You know, I'm sick and I wasn't really doing anything else. So I indulged in this distraction. But we can't be letting this get to us in 2017. This type of shit needs to stay in 2016. This don't need to follow us into the work that we're coming to do. So I got to vent, and I also got to end on my high note still, because we have a lot of work to do. We have a serious way forward. But like, I absolutely appreciate Ben. And when you read through some of the comments and like in the Ben's exchange, you know, with other folks, everyone's like, what is going on here? Because then he starts attacking Ben. And the thing is, it's just like, I mean, I guess it's just even like when you look at things that happen like in real life in terms of wars and conflicts, like one side aggresses, someone else responds, then it just keeps piling on. But it has to get to a point where we actually stop and say, like, no more. Which is ultimately also what happened on my Twitter feed too. Me personally, you know, I think that we need to understand that people have difference of opinions. And that's what bothers me so much about his post, though. He bothers me because he holds a position of power and authority in terms of informing other people about issues, about politics, about the world, essentially, right? We're talking about creating culture, creating, you know, character, and moving forward and building movements. And we need to be able to have control over the mechanisms of communication. This is crucial. This is not just like Hunger Games, sliding in transmissions, through the Capitol's transmissions and stuff. Like we really need to start positioning ourselves better, whether it's supporting, you know, our shows, the Progressive Army, hooking up with the Intercept, or whatever is out there that is independent, that is actually providing critical content and thinking, supporting shows like By Any Means Necessary and I can't remember the other show that I often do on Radio Sputnik, but like supporting good programming, Democracy Now!, whatever it is that you're looking for, because these people already have a platform, right? They already have the money, they already have the support, and we don't necessarily have what they have, but we have something better. We have the people, we have the voices, we have the critical thinking and the points, and we got the pulse of what's going on the ground. And that's what we need to be focusing on going into 2017. So as I close out 2016, I can't promise anything won't happen. Can't promise nothing won't pop off. Yo, I mean, as a kid say, they can catch these hands, you know what I'm saying? Like Twitter hands. No violence. But maybe if you catch me on the wrong side, wrong way, you know. I mean, back in my days when I was growing up in Chicago, it might have been a whole different story. But seriously though, like I really feel like that we need to support, you know, good content creators, and things that are moving us forward towards the goals that we claim that we supported when Bernie was running, right? So if we say that we're about, you know, universal healthcare, and no, it's not necessarily going to happen anytime soon, but this stuff wasn't going to happen immediately under Bernie Sanders either. This was always a long haul that we were involved in, right? So it doesn't even matter if you're someone who rocks with me because you my girl or my buddy or family member and you supported Hillary Clinton, but you still want better too. Like we all have to make a cognitive effort to do better and be better. Because quite honestly, even if you supported Hillary, these fantasies about her coming in to super save us all, they don't help people. They don't help people who got to feed their families. They don't help people who don't have jobs in their communities. I just got an email from somebody asking me about what I thought about an economic development plan for Detroit. That is a really interesting idea, but I don't really even understand. I'm sitting here thinking like, okay, who do we even reach out to connect to even see if we could pull together a conversation about this? There's real shit happening in our communities everywhere. And I know y'all know this. I know y'all know because y'all see it in your own communities where you are or your families. Like I said, again, Bob talked about, you know, Rockdale, Illinois earlier. You know, we all got places, you know, you could talk about spots in Mississippi, Missouri, you know, what's happening right now in St. Louis. Shout out to Corey Bush, who just led basically a all night shut-in to help try and save one of the homeless shelters there. I mean, you guys might have seen in the news when they were pulling blankets off people, throwing away their stuff. You know, Corey Bush, who ran for Senate in Missouri, in St. Louis, she was out there. Bruce Franks Jr., who just won election in Missouri, he was out there. So there are people grinding on the level, and we need to stop letting the media, the mainstream media, dictate to us who are our leaders, who are the voices, and we need to seek out the voices that are resonating with us, that are actually speaking to and on behalf of the community, and those who are sharing their platforms to lift up the work and the voice of others. We need to stop feeding into the sycophants. We need to stop feeding into the hubris and stop feeding into people's personal vanity. That is what needs to die, if anything else dies, in 2016. That's what we need to leave behind in 2016, definitely. And we all need to come together to the best of our possibilities and move forward. So that's what we're going to continue talking about going into 2017 and beyond. And I appreciate y'all for rocking with me. I'm out.
The Way with Anoa.